Hello. Today, we're going to be sharing all about our favorite non-food tools for healing gut and hormones. So, the holiday season has commenced, and there's often a pretty big emphasis on food tools this season. So, we wanted to come in with some non-food tools that make a pretty significant impact in helping to support you feeling your best, especially when it comes to gut and hormone health. These tools also make great gifts to support any wellness lover that you might have on your list, so it's a win-win. So Jilly's going to kick us off with our first non-food tool.
All right. So, our first non food tool here is castor oil packs, an absolute favorite for both Abby and I, and something that we utilize and recommend with a lot of our clients. I would say the large majority of our clients we're recommending castor oil packs to. So, castor oil itself has been used for centuries as a natural remedy for various ailments. If you go down the Google rabbit hole of castor oil, you will see that it is used for everything under the sun. And there are all sorts of benefits, of castor oil that are, touted out there. But today we want to talk specifically about castor oil packs or castor oil wraps. And before we dive into talking about the wraps and how they're utilized, what their benefits are, let's just talk a little bit about castor oil itself first. So castor oil is made from cold pressed castor beans. It contains ricinoleic acid, which is an omega-9 monounsaturated fatty acid that exhibits potent anti-inflammatory and pain relieving effects or benefits. Castor oil also contains other beneficial components like flavonoids, specifically quercetin, which is something many of you may have heard of before, other phenolic compounds, and also important amino acids. So essentially, it's a very nutrient rich anti inflammatory oil with a lot of benefits. So, castor oil packs specifically involve saturating a large cloth, flannel, or fabric wrap with the castor oil and securing it around your abdomen. So, you're placing it around your abdomen, and you'll want to position the wrap around the right side of your abdomen and tie it snugly so it doesn't move and it kind of stays in place. The purpose of positioning the wrap, I'm using my hands here, like everyone is going to see this, you're listening to this, but you want to position it over the right side of your abdomen so you're covering your liver. That's an important note here. You'll then want to wear the castor oil pack for at least 60 minutes or overnight while you are sleeping. I like to wear them overnight while I'm asleep. That's often what I recommend to clients since it's pretty easy. You can just throw it on and, you're habit stacking in a sense because you're sleeping and using your castor oil pack at the same time. So castor oil is considered a master carrier oil because unlike a lot of other oils, it actually has the ability to deeply penetrate the skin and to be absorbed into the systemic body. So castor oil can actually penetrate the epidermis and the dermis and get into circulation where it's going to stimulate the lymphatic system, which is part of what makes it really special. So in terms of the benefits of wearing castor oil packs, so getting that castor oil on your skin over the right side of the abdomen, wrapping it up with the cloth wrap, the benefits include, number one, lowering inflammation. So the anti-inflammatory properties of castor oil with that omega-9 fatty acid, with the flavonoids or the quercetin, these compounds can actually help with reducing inflammation and alleviating swelling. There's also great data for castor oil packs in supporting detoxification. So castor oil packs can aid in liver detoxification specifically by stimulating the production and flow of bile. And this is going to enhance the binding and elimination of toxins from the body. If you are new here, we covered detoxification in depth in the first season of the podcast. We had a whole episode on detoxification and drainage and discussed the importance for gut and hormone health. So check that one out. Castor oil packs also stimulate the lymphatic system, which I mentioned. The lymphatic system also plays a crucial role with removing waste and toxins from the body. So castor oil packs can stimulate lymphatic circulation and also aid in detoxification. And there's some benefits there for supporting immune function as well. The application of castor oil packs can help activate the parasympathetic nervous system. They can actually induce a parasympathetic state, promoting relaxation, reducing stress, and really supporting overall well-being. Castor oil packs are super, super great for digestion and constipation specifically. Research has found that castor oil packs promote peristalsis and stimulate smooth muscle contractions throughout the digestive tract through prostaglandin receptors for promoting healthy motility, healthy bowel movement, so moving food through the digestive tract. Some research has also found that castor oil increases nitric oxide and promotes circulatory flow to the intestines, which can also help with bowel regularity. I'm also a big proponent of using castor oil packs along with other strategies for my fertility clients specifically for supporting that blood flow and circulation around reproductive organs, which is really, really essential for supporting implantation. I also really like castor oil packs for clients with fibroids, ovarian cysts, endometriosis, period related pain. They can be really, really helpful tools in these circumstances if that's relevant for you. Castor oil packs reduce pain, bloating, and cramps. We find these are particularly helpful for pain, bloating, cramping associated with digestive dysfunction or related to the menstrual cycle. So, if you're someone that experiences pain, bloating, cramping leading up to your period or leading up to ovulation, castor oil packs can really have some significant benefits there. And lastly, they improve circulation and blood flow, which I already alluded to a little bit. But by promoting circulation and blood flow to specific areas of the body, castor oil packs can help with tissue healing, reducing congestion, and really enhancing overall vitality at the end of the day. So, a laundry list of benefits with castor oil packs. And one of the big reasons Abby and I love castor oil packs is because they are very effective, but they're also a very low effort tool. So ultimately, you're just making the castor oil wrap. So you're putting about 2 tablespoons of castor oil on this fabric wrap. You're positioning it on the right side of your abdomen. You're tying it tightly. You're wearing it for about 60 minutes or while you're asleep. And typically, clients notice a pretty big difference with using these in an immediate sense, especially with the bloating, constipation, and some of the period related symptoms that I mentioned.
I mean, like, what don't castor oil
They
packs
do
do?
everything.
Like, I think it's also just a really nice tool to, have such an impact, but be very passive. In terms of, yeah, I mean, personally, like Jillian and I both use them when we sleep. I find that it even helps me to stay asleep throughout the night, which probably because of some liver congestion or like stuff that wakes me up in the middle of the night. But it definitely makes an impact, especially if I've had like a drink or two. I will always put a castor oil pack on because I'm like, oh, this is going to help me to not wake up in the middle of the night because I had, 2 glasses of wine at dinner or something. So, using it as a tool in that sense is also very helpful. And I like to, I feel like when clients first start it, I like them to stack a couple nights in a
Mhm.
row so that they can really feel, because sometimes a client will do it like one night and they're like, I didn't really feel anything. Like, I'm not really sure if it's like making a difference. And it's like, okay, well, let's do a couple nights in a row because then you can kind of feel like what 4, 5, 7 nights in a row feels
Mhm.
like. From a motility standpoint, being in the digestion world, a lot of constipation or bloating or things that sometimes take a little bit of time to like get the juices flowing of
Mhm.
sorts. So doing a couple nights in a row, I think is more profound for someone being like, oh, wow, okay, now I understand how they are very gentle, but they do have a pretty profound impact. And I feel like that sometimes like solidifies them as those like medicine cabinets staples.
100%. And I typically do the same thing with clients in terms of recommending 5 to 7 days continually, consecutively starting out. And then I'll usually recommend a minimum 3 days a week. A lot of clients actually choose to
Oh,
utilize
yeah.
it more frequently because they really like the benefits. They like how it makes them feel. They like the impact that it has on, bowel movements, digestion, sleep, bloating. Um, but, I think ultimately there's different ways you can utilize castor oil packs, but I think when we're working with clients, we're using them often like therapeutically, right? In terms of addressing some deeper
Mhm.
dysfunction. But castor oil packs are something we often will recommend clients keep in their toolbox long term. So you can use it after you had a couple drinks, or if, stress is higher or you're traveling, there's routine disruption, it's the holidays, and, eating, habits are maybe a little bit out of the norm, or there's lots of, holiday parties going on and alcohol consumption is higher. It's something that you can whip out and really use whenever, and there can be benefits. But I totally agree with you. I think when you start, 5 to 7 days of consecutive use, and then a minimum 3 days a week is kind of a good general guideline for kicking things off with castor oil packs.
I will say that a new castor oil pack was one of the only things that I did buy on the Black Friday or like kind of whatever holiday sales, because I was like inundated. I was like, I don't want to buy anything. Like, I hate consumerism. And I was like, ooh, castor oil packs. Like, but Queen of Thrones, I feel like we can't talk about castor oil packs without talking about Queen of Thrones has like kind of led the charge, I would say, on making castor oil packs like more
Mhm.
convenient and less of a mess, and therefore something that feels easeful to do on a nightly basis. And if you just Google Queen of Thrones, we'll put it in the show notes. But they have a little bit more like done for you castor oil packs. They're a cloth that's almost like laminated on one side, so the oil doesn't kind of seep out, and makes it like very clean, very straightforward. And you're just kind of like putting the oil on the soft side of the cloth, and then it does have a tie that wraps around your midsection, got a little bit of stretch to it, so it's pretty comfortable and you can easily sleep with it. I like pull my pajamas like up to like my ribs
I
when I
do the
wear
same
castor oil
thing.
packs, and they are probably not the sexiest thing to sleep with, but very
Very
effective.
effective. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Then I put my
Yeah, I was
mouth
gonna
tape
say,
on
I
and
got my
my
red
eye
light
mask and my
glasses.
retainer.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
Like,
Yeah, the Queen of Thrones brand is my top recommendation as well, and I do love that they
mhm,
just sell like the package. So you get the castor oil, you get the wrap. It's really the best wrap that I've used, or that I've recommended to clients. I've tried other wraps that just aren't as great. Queen of Thrones has really figured
mhm.
it out. The company was started. I am blanking on her full name. I will refer to her as Dr. Marisol. I'm forgetting what her last name is, but she's a naturopathic doctor that
Mhm.
developed this company, and it I really like the pack. The castor oil is super high quality, and that's something to mention too when it comes to castor oil. Queen of Thrones isn't the only company that sells really high quality castor oil,
Mhm.
but quality is absolutely essential. So when you are looking for castor oil, if you're not utilizing the Queen of Thrones brand that we recommended, you want to make sure that you're getting something that is organic, that is cold pressed, and that is made without chemical solvents, and ideally is packaged in a glass bottle, not something that's packaged in plastic. So that piece is really important in terms of getting a high quality oil that is going to be penetrating your skin.
Yeah, there's like the
Yep.
Heritage brand. I think that's the name. Yeah. That's also a great one. I think that's what the brand of the Queen of Thrones, maybe like white labels,
Oh,
but
I didn't
I'm
know
not
that.
sure. I'm rumors start here. Like
So castor oil packs, top of our list here. If any of the kind of benefits that we mentioned, or some of the symptoms that we mentioned in terms of what we use them for, resonated with you, would highly recommend. It's just a great bang for your buck type non-food tool when it comes to gut health and hormones.
Next up, we've got an acupressure mat. So, an acupressure mat is a cloth mat that has small, non penetrating plastic needles evenly dispersed over the mat surface. I know needles sound intense, but they're not that intense. Well, they're a little zingy, but they're not that intense. The mat is typically used under the back, as someone's lying down on the floor or a bed or a soft surface. And the needles create a prickly like sensation on the skin. Typically, the first few seconds to minutes on the mat feel kind of initially uncomfortable, certainly a lot of sensation, but eventually the discomfort subsides as the body further relaxes into the mat, and a deeper relaxation response is often observed as a result. Research has suggested regular use of an acupressure mat positively impacts conditions such as pain, especially of the lower back, neck, and even headaches. as well as sleep disorders, GI conditions, and even overall relaxation and stress relief. The findings really suggest part of the treatment, especially the pain, seems to be due to the changes in the processing of perception at the level of the central nervous system. It's thought that an increased stimulation and discomfort from the needles induces a reactionary parasympathetic response, meaning the body actually experiences a greater relaxation of the nervous system in response to that increased sensation or pain response. So, only 20-minute sessions daily have been shown to relieve muscle tension, improved microcirculation and oxygen of tissues. So, kind of bringing blood flow to an area, relieving pain, regulating sleep, and supporting an overall greater sense of ease, energy, and mood. So I will say both Jilly and I use this. I actually used it today as my little mini midday kind of reset. I did 20 minutes. I like to stack it also as kind of one of those habit stacking tools with a meditation. And it's I think it makes it much more of like a deep experience. I have a mat that's by a company called Within, so WTHN. But there are also brands like Prana Mat is a little bit more of a kind of maybe was like the first on the scene or seems to be like pretty known in the acupressure mat world. Um, but I am just like obsessed with mine. Jilly, I feel like you have shared that you and even your husband Andrew are
We
obsessed.
are obsessed. And I've finally gotten Andrew obsessed. I will say it's hard to pick a favorite tool, but I
Mhm. We're gonna say it about
I
everything.
know. Literally every tool that we share. It was hard to kind of come up with this list, but
Mhm.
the acupressure mat is probably very high at the top of my list, and it's something that I will say I've used most consistently with all of the tools that I have, invested in or things that I've tried over the years. I absolutely love the acupressure mat. I use it probably 5 to 6 nights a week. Occasionally I will use it during the day, but I find for me the real benefit is like end of day. And it is well, one, I will say maybe I'm a little bit bigger of a baby than you, Abby. It takes me about 5 minutes to settle into the pain.
Yeah.
I won't call Andrew out and talk about how long it takes him or like the screams and shouts that come as he's, no, I'm just kidding. Um, but it takes me a few minutes to settle in, but I can physically feel my body getting into a relaxed state. I tend to be someone that holds a lot of tension in my body, especially my upper body, my neck, my upper back. And when I lay down on the acupressure mat, I can just feel my body relaxing. I can, essentially feel the endorphins release. And it's something that I've noticed has had a significantly positive impact on my sleep in particular and my sleep onset. And this piece is just anecdotal, but obviously getting the body into a relaxed state is going to help with sleep onset and, sleep quality. And I find that I am like ready for bed when I use my acupressure mat, and it just really, really helps me relax. And I can just kind of feel that tension moving out of my body. And I just love the physicality of the tool. And, I'll kind of do different things when I'm using the mat. Sometimes I'm in the mood to do a little breath work or meditation. Sometimes I'll read. Sometimes I'll just, kind of hang out, throw some music on. But it's just a really, really great tool. And Andrew has definitely noticed a difference as well. My husband, since using it regularly, it took him a while. I had it for about a year before he would try it. And then finally he did. And it's so funny. We have like a little ritual at night now where I'm like, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? And we'll swap. And it's so funny, but it makes a difference for sure.
I love that. I find that I recommend it to clients, especially the clients that are like, I can't meditate, I can't sit still, like all of the, you know, maybe excuses, whatever, like kind of come up around like a lot of the like mindfulness, nervous system work things. And I'm like, okay, let's get you a physical tool that A kind of ties you down to like, I'm on my mat or I'm off my mat. Like I'm doing it or I'm not doing it. So it's a little bit more black and white. And that like physical, like clients have said, like the physical, like prickliness, they're like, I can feel it actually working, which then kind of overcomes some of that like, am I doing it right? Is it working? Is it not working? So I feel like, and then I have found clients to being like, So then I just I actually do the box breathing
Mhm.
that we've talked about. Cause what the heck else am I going to do while I'm lying on this prickly mat, trying not to, jump off of it because it's a lot of sensation. So I feel like it's just in the true sense of a tool, really helps to um get these practices into motion, and then it really does become I'm excited every time. I just really love to do it in the middle of the day. I very much, coming from kind of experiencing chronic fatigue, I'm very much I need a little middle of the day moment, 15 to 30 minutes depending upon how much I have in my day. And that's kind of my favorite time to use it as that kind of help to rejuvenate. Interestingly, actually, totally anecdotal also, I used it today and I'm wearing a CGM, so something continuously measuring my blood glucose. And I looked during the session, I was on it for 20 minutes today. My blood sugar, just really nice and gradual, kind of came down into a very, optimal, to the point after I was "Ooh, I need a snack." But I was "Oh, okay." A lot of my blood sugar is very much connected, I'm realizing as I wear these CGMs, to my nervous system and most likely to my
Yeah.
cortisol. So there's a connection. But so if you're anything like me, it's really helpful for blood sugar when you're just wound up
Oh
on the
my gosh.
inside.
I mean, the blood sugar stress connection, nervous system connection, cortisol is so huge, but and there's no one right tool for rewiring the nervous system or getting the body into that, rest and digest parasympathetic mode, but I do find, as someone who is that can be more easily adrenalized, and with clients that are more easily adrenalized or who are kind of go during the day, the physicality of that tool is really impactful, and to be able to actually see that in your CGM data
Mhm.
and to see what's happening in the body and kind of how it's impacting other things is super cool.
It's so interesting. And then I do have to plug for the upper back stiffness and neck pain and stiffness has monumentally shifted. Um I still regularly see my chiropractor, but it's now not so much of I need to see them on this regular basis. It's more oh, she's a friend of mine and it's lovely to go see her, but it was quite shocking at how much of a significant impact. And I think that's what most of the data, in terms of looking through the research, is really talking about the pain and muscle
Yep.
tension. And then the others, there are some good research on, but there's just less. So that's definitely what we have kind of the most interest. And it really comes out of Chinese medicine and the flow of chi through the body and movement of energy. And so, there's even more of a, I think, even deeper of things that are happening, in the body, certainly through the nervous system and the kind of parasympathetic response. But really just the idea of just chi and moving energy and letting things go. I'm oh, we're just doing so much good for our body on our little mat
So much
sessions.
good. So many things happening.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, the acupressure mat, another fave tool. So we have castor oil packs, we have acupressure mat, and now we have our happy lamp. So our third tool here, our happy lamp, is another tool that, surprise surprise, both Abby and I use pretty much every single day, at least in the colder winter months. And it's something that we recommend to almost all of our clients during the winter months as well. So when I say happy lamp, essentially I'm talking about a light therapy lamp or a full spectrum light box that emits at least 10,000 lux. And these lamps are specifically designed to simulate the sun. So we have talked extensively on the podcast about the importance of circadian rhythms for supporting gut and hormone health. As a very, very quick refresher, just so we understand why this light is important, light exposure is the biggest entrainment factor for circadian rhythms. Appropriate light exposure helps to coordinate or synchronize internal clocks in the body that regulate important processes, really all processes in the body, including digestion, detoxification, hormone secretion, neurotransmitter production. So, light exposure absorbed into your eyes soon after waking in the morning is a really, really important external stimulus for the master clock in the brain that is then going to communicate with all the peripheral clocks throughout the body to tell all your systems, all your organs to do what they need to do when they need to do it, essentially. So, this light exposure is very, very important. During the winter months, when the days are shorter, the weather is crappier, it can often be much, much more challenging to get that direct sunlight exposure first thing. And disruptions to circadian rhythms due to the lack of sunlight exposure can really have a significant impact over time, leading to digestive symptoms, fatigue, mood changes, brain fog, inflammatory symptoms. So, for any of our clients and for ourselves that are unable to get consistent sunlight exposure in the morning, we are always recommending grabbing a full spectrum light box and using it consistently after waking in the morning. It will make a world of difference. I shared a Instagram post not too long ago about circadian rhythm disruption being like the thing that is disrupting everyone's hormones that no one is talking about. And I'm sure you could argue the same when it comes to digestion, right, Av?
Oh, 100%.
It's, we are so fixated on, the food and the elimination and the this and the that. And we are forgetting that light and dark exposure, but sunlight exposure specifically in the morning is one of the most underrated health tools. It is, stimulating so much in the body in terms of a cascade of, events really that are essential for keeping your gut and hormones healthy. A lot of us are waking up in the morning and it's pitch black out. It's cold out, so maybe we're not getting out for that morning walk, or we're popping right on screens in the morning and we're just getting blue light versus our actual sunlight exposure. So that consistent sunlight exposure in the morning is one of the most tremendous things that you can do to support your gut and hormones. And having something like a full spectrum light box on hand is a way that you can ensure you can always get some form of light exposure, whether it be outside or using your lamp, depending on the day and what you have access to. Anything to add to that, in terms of the importance before we talk a little bit about kind of like brands and how to use the light?
Yeah. I mean, I can see it on like clients' faces when I'm like, all right, we're going to talk about light. They're like, okay. And then I like kind of go into and they're like, so you, light, really? Like, I feel like there's like a hesitation that they're like, that's it. Like, it's so simple. And it sounds like, really? Like, seriously? Like, that's going to really make that big of a difference. And it's like, and then the clients that really like lean into it, especially like they get their light box, they're using that, they're doing their walks, like, or they're getting, outside or near a big window or all those things, are like, wow, like I really feel the difference. Or conversely, I had a client just the other day. We really worked on light at night because she like works late, gets home late, and then was having just like overhead lights and all the things. And we even just started dimming her overhead lights and working on like the bright light in the morning and the dark at night. And she was like, the other night, I like forgot to do the light thing. And she was like, and I didn't realize like I was just up buzzing around until like 11 p.m. at night because I like never got tired. And she was like, "Oh, this hasn't happened to me in so long. Like, what did I do that was different?" She was like, "Oh my God, it's the light." And like, it just was like so fun to have that like that she was like, I get it
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
like moment. But so yeah, I feel like it's like sometimes people hearing it, they're like, okay, like I guess I'll do it. But like it's like really committing to it and being like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it consistently. Like the consistency is really where the magic is. And a happy light tool like this is really what can help people to practice the consistency, to feel the impact, to then become obsessed like we
Yes,
are.
yes, everything, yes. It's so true, and you all probably know by now that Abby and I are not militant about much, right? So we very, very much believe in tools, not rules. And the application of things is
Mm.
going to look different for everyone. But when it comes to your wake up time and sunlight exposure first thing, the consistency is key, and you will notice a difference even with doing that for a week. Do it for 2 weeks and oh man, you will definitely notice a difference. And it does have such a positive snowball effect because if you wake up and you feel more energized and alert and ready to start the day, and anxiety's lower and digestion feels good and your mood is on, it just gives you the ability to show up more fully in life and to want to actually engage in things like movement and making nourishing food when everything is kind of falling into place. So the sunlight exposure is really so key. But we also recognize that based on schedules or where people live, that can be challenging. And so we need to do what we can to create that path of least resistance. So a full spectrum light box is a great, great investment, and it's not crazy expensive, which I like to get a good quality one. I think Abby and I both recommend the same brand, Verilux. I'm sure there's other
Yep.
ones out there. That's just what, I've been most familiar with. I have had my light box. We actually just got a second one, but I've had my light box for maybe 7 years now from Verilux, and it was like $39 at the time, and it is still kicking, and I use it all winter long. So it's definitely a worthwhile investment if you struggle to get that light exposure based on, your schedule or where you live.
I mean, I would even say I actually said this to Jilly like literally 2 weeks ago. I had put my light box like away somewhere. I was like overly cleaning my apartment and like tucked it away. And this was like months ago. And then I like found it and brought it out and was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna like use this. And I like we love our morning walks. But full confession, I am not out getting morning sunlight like in the first 30 minutes of my day every day. In the summer, I'm much more likely. In the cold winter in Boston, I am less likely. And it takes me like maybe 45 minutes to get out the door because I'm like a little just snuggly. So I will use it in the morning, like right when I wake up. I'll like, kind of turn my alarm off and like put the light on. And then I just kind of like sit in bed and drink some minerals and have that like 15, kind of 20-minute, like little gentle wake up time. And just the first 2 weeks that I was using it, like I felt such a profound difference in just being like a zippy of like, I'm ready. Oh my gosh. Like I'm ready to the point that I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so sorry that I lost you, little light box. Like, thank you so much for coming back into my life. That I told Jilly about it. I was like, Jilly, I love the light box. Like I've
Wait, since
reconnected.
you
And we're still getting out for our walk. But that's like that first 30 minutes. That's the cortisol awakening response, which we had an episode like 3 episodes ago really talking about that like magical time in the first kind of 30 minutes to an hour of your day that like if if you're not jumping out of bed, go for a walk. Like this is something that even if you do what I like for clients of like when they're really struggling too, it's like this is such a approachable tool that it's like, yeah, you don't have to like if you're exhausted waking up and that's like a really struggle for you, like use this because you don't actually have to go anywhere. And it's like, more of an excuse to sit there for 20 minutes like I like to do and like, read the like I like to read the morning
A
headlines.
100%. And I have to share with you, which I didn't tell you, Abby, since we had that conversation, because I was mentioning to Abby that I use my, started using my light box in the morning now that it's, darker in the morning when I wake up, but I was doing it in my living room. And since you told me about your routine, Abby, I moved my lamp onto my bedside, and now I'm doing that's my literal routine now for the last couple weeks since that conversation. I'll get up, I'll let Mowgli out, I make my minerals, and then I get back in bed where it's nice and cozy, and I have my light on. And I am with you, and we have data to support that in terms of the 30 minutes post waking and that cortisol awakening response and that stimulatory effect that light exposure has. And it makes such a difference. And it's really nice when you're sitting in bed and you're cozy and you just have it,
Oh,
shining in.
when I like get back into bed with my mineral drink, I'm like, oh, I have like 20 more minutes of just nothing. And then I'm like, after that 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, all right. I think I'm ready. I'm
Yeah.
ready to go. Like I'm ready to start the day and like do the next like walk or, whatever's come like after that for my morning routine. So yeah, highly. We should say too, we have no affiliation with any of these brands. Actually, we just love them. So I was thinking that of
Important.
like where we're going to share, in the show notes, like the brands that we're recommending, but we're just fans and we're obviously personal consumers of these, but we just see the profound impact in clients
I'm
all the
glad
time.
you mentioned that disclaimer because these companies are not aware that we are like having a party celebrating, the quality of their products or devices, whatever they are. But yeah, just things we genuinely love and recommend often to clients. A couple quick tips in terms of how to use the lamp. Clearly, you have probably determined from our chit chat here that using it soon upon waking is going to produce a big benefit in terms of supporting that cortisol awakening response that you can learn more about in episode 28. But in terms of the length of time, typically 20 minutes is the goal. When you have a full spectrum light box that gives you at least that 10,000 lux, so 20 minutes. I usually recommend 20 to 30 minutes. You don't need to overdo it. 20 to 30 minutes should be more than adequate for kind of stimulating what we're looking to stimulate here. And I will also often have clients use it again like midday before 3 p.m. if they can't pop outside for a quick walk, or they're not, sitting near a bright sunny window where they're getting some sunlight during the day. And if they're exposed to a lot of blue light and artificial light, while they're working during the day. So 20 minutes first thing in the morning, 20 minutes again midday if you can't get outside or you can't sit near a bright sunny window, and that's all you need.
And you don't have to stare directly at it. Like, I actually think the angle of like putting it on like a bedside table, like something just like kind of a little in the periphery, that's like, what, like a foot? Do we say like
Yeah,
a foot
typically
away?
about a foot away,
Like,
and then not staring, directly into it, kind of. I don't know how to describe
we're
it.
using our
I know.
hands
I
here.
don't know how to describe it.
I like say periphery.
Okay.
So I'm like that like peripheral vision that you're like, okay, I can see it, but it's not like glaring. So it's like if you were lying against your headboard, let's say, bedside
Yes.
table would be like a good like angle. Just imagining kind of set up like that and just like creep it a little like closer, like so that you're within the vicinity. Um
Perfect. That was a better description than I was just using hands and saying no words.
yeah.
I feel like I'm on a call with a client, where I'm like throwing my hands around and describing
Oh,
things.
100%.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, you can't see me.
All right. Our next tool is a vagal stimulation or toning device. So a vagal stimulation or toning devices, they're tools that more directly stimulate the vagus nerve as a means to increase the parasympathetic or rest and digest arm of the nervous system. So the calming arm of the nervous system, we could say. The vagus nerve is the main nerve from the brain that innervates many important organs of the body, including the heart, lungs, and the entire gastrointestinal tract, all of which are not under conscious control, but are controlled through our autonomic nervous system. When the vagus nerve is stimulated, it triggers a relaxation response between the brain and the body, creating a greater degree of metabolic homeostasis due to its innervation of some of those most vital organs. So the vagus nerve has a relaxing anti-inflammatory effect on the body, playing a major role in conditions like IBS, hormone conditions, anxiety, depression, and many other conditions. The list could go on and on. The vagus nerve is such an important um, piece that we want to support in our body. So today, various vagal nerve stimulation implants are approved for therapies for things like refractory epilepsy, treatment resistant depression, and some preclinical studies on heart failure. So they actually can use these in more therapeutic sessions with a kind of surgical implants. But there's a lot of at-home devices. So that's really what we're talking about, not the surgical implants today, but the at-home. So the at-home vagal nerve stimulation devices are becoming much more popular and ready available to use. And they're using electronic stimulation to target the vagus nerve at different areas on the body, such as the inner ear canal through using a headphone device or on the wrist through a wearable device. So this gentle electric stimulation is what delivers the therapeutic impact. There's a couple different companies, some of our favorites in terms of companies. We have Apollo Neuro, we have Nuvana, and we have Vayrelief. I think that's how you say it. I've never said that one out loud, by Hoolist. In terms of use of these are ones that Jillian and I have both utilized personally as well as utilizing with clients. And what we find is kind of the recommended use is kind of 15 minutes for 2 times per day. That's kind of the therapeutic level of stimulation for the vagus nerve to get the most profound kind of relaxation response. And most clients are feeling benefits from the regular use of these products within kind of a 4 to 6 week period of time. Certainly, they can experience more acute calming relaxation kind of effects like even after usage and within the first couple of weeks, but kind of seeing the most profound impacts in that kind of 4 to 6 week window. So I have definitely confession, not been as regular. I was very regular when I first got um my device, and then I kind of fell off. But it was really, really effective. And I found with clients, it's also one of those tools that not only they can feel the impact of, in terms of creating more kind of calming, but it's also that like I have a tool and I'm going to do this kind of 15 minutes of like using it while I read or listen to a meditation or do kind of something that's going to be feeling a little bit more of an active calming experience or calming practice. Which is really what, I love to utilize with clients, especially again, because in our busy go world, it feels as though it's a challenge to create those opportunities for calming practices.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I will say my personal experience using the vagus nerve stim device was similar to yours. I also tend to be streakier with the vagus nerve stim where I'll do it really consistently for a few weeks and then I'll pause and utilize other tools. The first time I started using the vagus nerve stim device, within about 2 weeks I started to notice a difference in how I felt. But I noticed a substantial difference after about 4 weeks, and I also saw a substantial difference with the data that I was collecting and monitoring via my Aura Ring. So my restorative time, my HRV increased quite drastically. Actually, after that did take about a month, um, but it's a really phenomenal tool. We need to do an entire episode on the vagus nerve and talk about this more so because I feel like it comes up often. But particularly if you are someone that is experiencing chronic digestive symptoms, you feel extremely bloated after eating, you're experiencing constipation, you have really poor stress resilience, which we see in a lot of clients just due to a lot of things going on internally and externally. This can be, it's not going to be the be all end all. We still need to support the foundations, but it's something. If we have poor vagal tone, which is more and more common based on people really living in a state of chronic fight or flight, or operating in that sympathetic branch of the nervous system on an ongoing basis where we are just sort of repeatedly assaulting the body with stressors and we are experiencing poor vagal tone or issues with vagus nerve function. This can be a really, really impactful device for kind of getting us over some hurdles and firing up that vagus nerve and also improving that stress resilience. And I think it's something that does produce a notable benefit for any client that I've recommended utilize it. Most of these devices, and there is a spectrum, will include a few different options for you. All are products that, like Abby mentioned, we have utilized or we would confidently recommend. They're an investment, even ones on the lower end of the spectrum. So if this is a tool that piques your interest, you are going to get the most bang for your buck if you work through seasons 1 and 2 of the podcast and you really implement the foundations. And then you bring in a tool alongside that, or, towards the end of that when you're kind of getting into a better groove with those foundational habits. But if things are really all over the place, the vagus nerve stim device, and I know sometimes people want it to be that, kind of the be all end all, but it's not going to make the difference if we're not supporting the body with the foundations, if we're not doing things like focusing on our breath and creating outlets of recovery for the nervous system. If we're just throwing on the Zen device like while we're working or something like that, it might not produce the benefit that we want. So it does need to be sort of like a complete approach, just as a side note, not to dampen the mood.
No, that's such an important point because they're more significant investments, especially of this list that we created. And I think the reliance on like you're gonna save me for like any tool or any supplement or any functional test even is like these are like need to be put into a greater system that we have the foundations. I mean, this is again one of the many times that we'll say like this is why this podcast exists, for like here's the tools for the foundations and then like here's some like bells and whistles and things that can like help us to sometimes when the nervous system is a piece of someone's puzzle and maybe that kind of low tone of the vagus nerve, it can help to just like shift it a little bit more in a little bit more profound of a way to get that that experience of it, to realize like, oh wow, this is really working. Oh, interestingly enough, like this is, definitely kind of in highlight that this is an area that that person needs to work on. I mean, as we're talking about it and I'm like, oh, I'm super sensitive to caffeine, and I can see like with the the acupressure mat and things, I'm like, oh, this is probably a sign that I should bring my my Nuvana device back out again, because it's like the perfect example is like I like was reading it and I was like, so basically this is what I need right now. And it makes sense because there's a lot happening in my life right now that um that utilizing these tools is like, yeah, I fell off of it for a little bit, but then thinking of, I've been like going for a while, and a couple different types of stressors in my life, and it's like, oh, all right, this would be, a good time to bring in that like nice additional supportive piece, um to help to soften some of the edges and get that calming, anti-inflammatory. That's the part that I always think is so fascinating when we talk about the vagus nerve, is that it has like an anti-inflammatory effect on the body. We think about like the nervous system is like, oh, it's like relaxing and that's like so great. And it just makes you feel like so, calm. And it's like actually it has an even deeper impact on kind of like anti-inflammation in the body. And you start to then realize like, whoa, the nervous system is like way cooler than we like probably give it
Oh,
credit for.
100%. The vagus nerve is fascinating, and yeah,
Yeah.
in so many different ways. And I feel like there's just so many cases where, client cases I can think of where, the vagus nerve and poor vagal tone is involved, and targeting that is a huge needle mover alongside the foundations. And I'm even thinking about like our mold clients, and people
Oh
that
yeah.
have experienced a significant environmental exposure. I'm thinking of this client right now who actually is, has been doing all the things, so diligent with nutrition changes, targeted supplements, really diligent about, that, really diligent with circadian rhythm habits, the breath work, using an acupressure mat, all the things, and just recently invested in a vagus nerve stim device. We were struggling to see the movement that we wanted with her, HRV, her recovery, some things going on with, sleep and stress. And within a couple weeks of using the vagus nerve stim device within that context of that solid foundation, we are seeing drastic improvements. And, that may or may not always be the case, but it's pretty profound when it's the right tool for the right person. And it's something that, I think it feels good for people, and we can actually like see the changes with monitoring data with like an aura or a whoop, which is really cool. All right, our final tool is amber blue light blocking glasses. We've mentioned this a few times before, but for anyone that's new, these are like the really nerdy, dorky, like red light glasses that you wear at night to support circadian rhythms. So we feel that this is a super, super worthwhile tool. Wearing amber blue light blockers in the evening is related to what we were talking about earlier in relation to light exposure being the biggest entrainment factor for circadian rhythms. Abby had shared a story about a client she was working with that they were working on minimizing bright light and blue light exposure in the evenings, which is a big disruptor of circadian rhythms. So remember, in the morning, midday, we want that light exposure from the sun. In the evening, when it gets dark, we really want to minimize artificial light, blue light, screens that are emitting light. So amber blue light blockers can be a really, really awesome tool. Ultimately, we do typically recommend that clients aim to have some device, kind of phone free, screen free time in the evening, pleasure reading, doing a sleep meditation, maybe using your acupressure mat. But ultimately, about 90 minutes to 2 hours before bed, we really want to hone in on minimizing that bright light. It is stimulating, it confuses the brain, it delays sleep onset, it delays melatonin production, and it is disruptive to circadian rhythms. So in order to minimize some of that disruption, amber blue light blockers are something that you can throw on in the evening, 90 minutes to 2 hours before bedtime, that is going to filter out significantly more blue light than your clear blue light blocking glasses. And this can have a really, really positive impact on, feeling actually tired before bed, that sleep onset. So I think there's some notable things that people experience when they are minimizing that blue light or wearing these amber blue light blockers at night. But on a larger scale, it is deeply supporting your gut and hormones, your blood sugar, your metabolism, your immune system, when we can really regulate that light exposure and minimize exposure to artificial light at night.
I just had a moment of ads to come.
Yeah. It's funny. I actually, I've been wearing amber blue light blockers for probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now. I notice a big difference when I don't have them on in the evening. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything is so bright. This is wild. Where's the dimmers? So I really, feel relaxed. It feels really good to kind of keep things dim, to have those amber blue light blockers on at night. And I just recently though ordered, this was my other Black Friday purchase actually. I ordered a pair of the goggle ones that go over over your glasses.
We have to see photos of this.
No, I'm just kidding. Andrew already said that. He's like, I can't wait to send people photos. I was like, you will not. But so I wear contacts and glasses, and I don't want to wear my contacts, in the evening. And so I was literally wearing double glasses, my glasses and then the amber ones over. So they're it was not a pretty look. It was effective. So effective that I continued to wear double glasses. I feel embarrassed that I'm admitting this right now on the podcast. But finally I decided, all right, I'm going to get the really dorky, worker looking goggle ones that I can comfortably put over my glasses.
Those are in vogue right now.
Thanks, Ab. Okay. I feel a little better.
Yeah. All the kids are wearing those type of glasses.
Oh, you're a good friend. That makes me feel better. But so if you wear glasses, you can get ones that go over your glasses, or if you don't have glasses, you can just get the cooler looking ones that, aren't quite as dorky. But ideally we'll want to wear them, 90 minutes to 2 hours before bedtime. What we always like to say to clients too is that, yes, ideally we're going to have some screen-free time in the evening. We also are very realistic and understand that life happens. There might be a busy season of life where, okay, some things are happening and you had to work a little bit later. Let's not stress about it. Let's do what we can. Let's minimize the blue light exposure. Let's throw on our amber colored blue light blockers and, habit stack in the sense of, okay, if you're, watching a show at night, let's have the blue light blockers, sitting on the coffee table and throw those on if you're, watching Netflix, and then let's give ourselves 30 minutes to read before bed. For brands, I typically recommend Swannies, the Swanee brand, or the Block Blue Light brand. I don't know if you have any others that you like, Ab.
I like the Bon Charge brand. I think for blue light, the ambers, I feel like they only have maybe one or two styles. So if that's something that, someone's looking for more variety, that might not be the company for you. But we are wearing orange colored glasses. So how much, even what I wear, right now, these are the clear blue light. I don't actually need glasses. I just think they're fancy. But I will be adding to cart literally after this episode, because Jillian's she's been mentioning this to me for probably now a couple of months of do you have the ambers? And I'm like, no, I just really like my clear ones because they feel stylish. And then I'm like, okay, all right. I'm sold, because I do I love a show at night. That's one of my favorite wind down, and then the hour before bed I'm reading or something, but I every time I'm watching a show I'm like, oh, if I squint, does it help to block out some of the blue light? I feel naughty every time, and now I'm like,
that's
okay,
so funny.
I'm gonna get them.
I'm actually very excited for you to try them, and you need to report back on the podcast and let people know how your experience was, because I feel like you're going to notice a big difference. I definitely did.
I think so.
Certainly wearing any blue light blockers at night is going to be helpful. You're going to filter out some of that blue light, but I do think the amber ones really, take it up a notch and filter out a lot of that blue light, which is just, there's a notable difference.
All right. I will report back. And anyone else listening, we love talking about these tools and like hearing experience about them. So if there's any of these tools that you guys try, or even have been utilizing and just love and want to like gush with us about it, like definitely this is what we love to hear. Like on Instagram is a great place to reach out to us. Certainly leaving a review and telling us that, that there was impact in anything that we've shared with you. And we're just big wellness nerds. So we love to hear what works for other people. And if any of this was helpful.
Yeah, let us know. We love to hear from you guys, and we will include links to all of the brands that we mentioned in the show notes for this episode, so you can check out all of these wonderful companies really doing amazing things.